Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Crypto Hipster Podcast. This is your host, Jamil Hassan, the Crypto Hipster, where I interview founders, entrepreneurs, executives, thought leaders, actually really amazing people all over the world. And today I have another amazing guest, and he is the CEO of Clore.AI. His name is Jakub Ondrášek. Jakub, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you. You got my Czech name somewhat right. And yeah, I founded Clore.AI. My background is like somewhat being a programmer. I'm going around crypto for some time. I was most like interested in like the backgrounds of mining crypto. I operated historically some mining pools, and now I put most of my time into operating Clore.AI.
Awesome. Well, I'm excited and I'm looking forward to learning all about it, and how you guys create a mass harvest of dormant computing superpower, which is really cool to me. I'm going to ask you first, though, get a little bit more into your background. So you've been in crypto for a little while. What is your background, and is it logical, for what you're doing now with AI?
Yeah, like more about like my background. Yeah, I basically got into crypto in 2017. I never like tried to like harvest like something, some playings with DeFi, or I never like tried to trade crypto. I basically always look at the fundamentals of some projects and always historically looked on some fundamentals. I seen if I do this trade like by the code itself, this will need to happen. So yeah, I basically always made my trades and my positions in crypto based on like only the code itself. I never really cared about like some other like technical analysis or something like that. And then it now like that I found it Clore.AI, it's the most logical thing to me because there is a lot of unutilized GPU resources. Miners are not like always getting the best yield for their machines, and it was somewhat missing thing to just have this like fully open GPU computing marketplace where we're basically not setting any borders, and we want to make the trade as seamless as possible, and like basically allow everything possible with GPU compute and made the most open marketplace in the world.
Got it. So let's start with that. What is Clore.AI all about, first of all?
Yeah, Clore is about, it's the place where you can offer your GPU machines and someone else can run them. It's like, and it's not like starting just here. If you're a miner, for example, you can offer some overclocking profiles of your machine so the clients can bet and select some overclocking profiles. Basically, if depends what you're paying for electricity at like the different times, but you can maximize your profits at basically any time for your mining machine. That's like from hosting provider side, and like from client side, you can be like an AI researcher or some developer of some new cryptocurrencies. We've seen with two recently launched large coins. We have seen whatever. Yeah, crap. Um, it's like basically right now two biggest coins, basically Cubic and Aleo. Their testnets were run on Clore. For example, the use cases. So like blockchain developers are right now heavily using Clore because it allows just to scale to such extents like hardly possible. In like standardized environments, for example, if you wanted to rent some large amounts of GPUs from like some large centralized providers, you need to like sign a contract saying you will rent it for like 2 years or something. With Clore, this doesn't happen. The market is as open. Providers are putting their own prices that they want. It's a market. Clients accept, deny. It just flows all the time, and it is reaching the best prices in the world, best rates for everything.
Okay, so let's you mentioned miners, right? And they're not making the yield they want to make, but what they can. So what are some of the pain points, the real like current pain points that miners are facing. Before it used to be China threw everybody out, and then the grid cost in Texas went up. And so right now, where we stand, what are some of their greatest pain points?
Well, I think to some extent, miners right now we're focusing on like GPU miners, basically with GPU machines. We're not like focused on ASIC miners. So like China stuff didn't hit that much GPU mining. The worst thing that basically happened to GPU mining was Ethereum merge, which is like few years ago. So now most of the miners are like somewhat sustaining. They are not buying that much new hardware. Like they are trying to like pay off their farms. They are moving into like lower energy cost countries or something like that. And otherwise, yeah, they basically want to get the most amount of like money per their miners. And like recently, like the market wasn't moving that much, but basically how to make some greater money, like how to have some edge against the market is going against like speculative coins, basically new coins, and like being able to be the first on the market. You maybe don't want to like be necessarily like, because you don't know what will win, but people on Clore themselves, our clients, may just go on, rent your machine and speculate on something and pay you higher yield basically sooner. And you're not risking anything, you're receiving the yield. And yeah, that's if you stay as a mining machine, like there is also like an incentive for you if you upgrade your machine to be like somewhat more reasonable. I'm saying like most miners will not like go on and just upgrade their machines, like upgrade the CPUs, RAM, storage to be like somewhat more useful for AI, but then you can open up like a whole new like world of basically much higher returns on your machine if you like upgrade your CPU, RAM, storage. So it's like basically like two machine classes. One is some like miner class that is used for like testing new proof work crypto projects, like just running some low level like simulations. And then this like the second machine class, which are some higher end machines, which are like people that already had them or miners upgrading them, which are heavily used for like large language models, stable diffusion stuff models for generating images on scale. I'm talking too much, right?
No, you're good. I'm beginning to understand. So basically, these miners want to improve their yield. You have dormant computing superpower out there, and you enable them to tap into that dormant power, right?
Yes.
How do it, and why should they do it?
Well, first of all, there is no disadvantage of like joining Clore. Everything, like I don't want to name, but like some other projects that are trying to achieve GPU marketplace stuff or are somewhat like GPU marketplace stuff, they have somewhat like security vulnerabilities. They don't necessarily allow you to completely offer what you want. Some of them will just force you to like put up your highest power limit on your machine, which you maybe just not have like adequate cooling at your facility because you just intended mining at first. At Clore, it's okay. Our marketplace, it's also split on like mainline marketplace and what we call power efficient marketplace. Okay, if your machine cannot reach the like defaults, it's okay. Your machine is delisted from the mainline marketplace and it appears on the power efficient marketplace. So the AI grade users, most of them will ignore your machine and your machine will somewhat like stay for these like more cryptocurrency speculative miners, cryptocurrency developers, and like some small AI models mostly. And yeah, why you should join? Basically, right now we have most of miners use high voice, right? And we have we call it Clore Fleet. So you can actually generate a config for miner. You can put it into HiveOS and your machine will automatically appear on Clore.AI. Itself, there is like no disadvantage. If you can set like minimum price, what you want to receive for your machine, and like set overclocks, set power limits, set everything. And if Clore doesn't find you a client that will run this, then it's okay. Your machine is still mining as it was previously, no harm to anything. So as a provider, you can only like yield more money, you cannot lose.
Got it. And so their biggest competition right now, your client's biggest competition would be meme coins? Or what would it be?
What do you mean like by clients right now?
Or the people who use Clore.AI, right? Your customers.
My customers, like, I don't get like how meme coins can be like a competition to like a GPU marketplace.
Okay, good. Just checking. So, because they seem to be a competition to everybody right now. So I'm glad.
Yeah. Like I personally need to say, okay, they're the competition. Like you need to like think about the competition. You have like on one side like the standard providers which have like their own facilities with their own GPUs, which they generally come up with like higher prices. Plus, if you want to rent something larger, then like you need to like sign up some contracts or something. So it's not like that feasible. And like in the crypto space, the other projects and like not crypto space, even like outside of crypto space, I couldn't say basically that we're not competing on like itself the level. We're like all a little different, and I haven't seen any project that came as close to Clore to just allow providers to list everything and the demand. The market tells itself what the market wants. So if there is a demand for machines with specific settings, you can list them on Clore. Clore is open to everything.
Got it. Okay. So I want to find out then why it's really crucial to democratize GPU access and reduce reliance on centralized cloud-based systems.
Well, the first like centralized cloud-based system, it like doesn't happen for now, but like in the future, like I don't know, as AI becomes more and more popular, and it depends in what country you're living, but some countries may be like creating, I don't know, censorship for AI models. They might try to restrict you from renting GPU computing power to run your AI model that might not be like aligned with the political agenda or something in like some countries. And itself, it makes sense because on other level, you're a centralized provider. You are trying to like find out like clients for yourself, and sometimes you don't have everything rented. You wouldn't advertise like lower prices to not like if you like rent something for more for one client, you don't put publicly I rent it for less because your other clients will be demanding less or something. We basically at Clore we don't have such issues because we're not like the provider, the platform itself, the chain itself. It's basically just a place to interconnect these people. So we can even see like the centralized providers, they will come more and more to Clore to list their unused equipment on the greatest marketplace itself. So theoretically, it's just like philosophical for now, but like it will need to lead this direction that the centralized providers themselves would start listing more and more their equipment on Clore.
Got it. And so one of the things
why is it important? Basically, no censorship. It's hard to kill. Like it will always work. Decentralized clouds will always work. I cannot like say like everything is just sunshine and rainbows for now. Like the one problematic thing in decentralized computing is that like some models still are not, or some workloads cannot or very hardly can be encrypted, like fully homographically encrypted. So for some workloads, I still need to say like having your own machines or renting from a centralized provider, it just for now makes more sense until like the encryption gets better on some workloads, or you just maybe don't want to risk it. But that's fine. That's the market. I like everything year after year we see like everything moving. We see ZK snarks, we see like everything moving. We see like encrypted models. We see like everything moving this direction, which will be favoring the decentralized, democratized GPU clouds.
I remember back in I think it was June, July, and August of this year, where I was doing like 8 podcasts a week, and I would talk about the same topic with different founders in successive weeks, and the answers would be completely different. Like what they tell me was completely different. But one of the things that I think makes sense is this idea that you guys do is this idea of on-demand rentals, right? And you mentioned demand rentals, and leveling of the playing field, right? How do your rentals level the playing field and really help create competition and enhance the competition?
Well, like, yeah, it's very like easy on itself, like how it helps the competition. Like basically, if the demand is, I don't know, going down somewhat, the providers are themselves always like incentivized. Okay, let's just lower our prices or something, because like the providers always want to like harvest the most they can compared to like their electricity costs, their profits minus their revenue minus electricity costs. The providers are always like incentivized to like, yeah, yield the best terms. So the providers themselves are always like incentivized to go to places with the cheapest electricity. And for the AI workloads, it's like some balance between like electricity costs and internet connection actually. So you cannot like set up that successful Clore host, I don't know, in Kyrgyzstan where you basically have like no high-end internet connection in the whole country. But like, yeah, it's some playing field, and Clore allows basically everyone to be on one marketplace, everyone to compete in one space, and it just drives the efficiency on all levels.
See, drive efficiency. Okay, makes sense. You said oracles too. So I'm thinking when I think of oracles, I think of blockchain oracles.
You know, no, you probably misheard. I didn't say oracles, but
Okay, I misheard. I'm sorry. So great. So one of the things that we think about when we think about the tech evolution, because you've been here since 2017 and so have I, which means that you probably read a whole bunch of white papers that made no sense, and so did I, right?
yeah.
Is we have to make this tech evolution more sustainable, right? So how do we make it more sustainable? By tapping into unused compute power. And then what's the ideal level of compute power to achieve sustainability, keep it there?
What do you mean, like economic sustainability, probably, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, right now, okay, just on the computing power, the general computing power industry is okay, like super old. We know it's like profitable. It makes sense. GPU computing power industry, yes, the providers right now make money. Okay, we basically know that. Like if you're in the provider space, you're generating profits. But the problematic is the clients. The clients are sometimes a lot of the times like VC funded companies that are basically losing money right now. Yes, and so it's hard to like predict what will be happening. But like I think with the advancements in like if I just want to go to mention the two largest players I'm most like interested in, like Anthropic AI and OpenAI, we see them basically scaling down like parameters of models, but like the demand is still like rising in such somewhat like insane terms. And I personally think it will bring it it will break it. It will start to be profitable, because with the demand for AI rising at this speed, I don't see it slowing down. And yeah, the demand for I regarding sustainability, like the clients are always like step ahead, like not like against like the provider, because they want also to harvest more, the most, generate the data per computing power. So they are always like trying to like make this like making more efficient, faster. If you person just looks, for example, at VLLM framework, they in like past 2 years they basically were able to achieve like, I don't know, 2x improvements, which, okay, when you're looking at yourself as a provider, you're saying, okay, this is not that like great because you have like 2x less demand actually, but like the demand for the AI models is rising at such a rapid pace that like it basically like doesn't matter. And from it makes sense. The demand is now rising, even like for the VC funded companies, let's say, and I just believe they will be able to hit profitability and not the large issues.
I think it's interesting you mentioned VCs. I went to Consensus in Austin in May, and there were panels of VCs and getting their thoughts on AI. None of them agreed, and several of them didn't know what they were looking at. You know, I'm not going to name names.
Yeah.
So, how do we create a more understanding, field for VCs, or how do we educate them on what they should look at? And or is someone else better equipped to be able to do that?
That's like kind of problematic thing, of course. Like VCs, if their executives don't understand what they are investing into, they probably shouldn't do it, right? But how we educate them, it's like somewhat okay. AI is still we can the risk is lowering in the industry. By my standpoints, I believe if for VCs it's probably the best to try if some of the larger companies open up fundraisers. Right now it's better to bet on the larger companies than like some smaller startups. If some smaller startup claims they are training their own foundation model from zero, I would personally not invest in them because it is just losing its sense. Basically, the already open source foundation models are hitting really great like outcomes, and if you're it just the competition in foundation models, in pure foundation models, is really high. And if you want to achieve something, it's just better if you say, I'll use this foundation model, we'll train it on this data that we have some advantage as a company, we can do it. I would mostly avoid people claiming they will train foundation model. I would not avoid them if they have some revolutionary technology, but like otherwise, I would avoid this part of companies.
And that makes me think about what the best model is. I mean, some will say the best model is federated learning with a much smaller data set.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on what's more optimal and what's more ideal, federated machine learning with a small data set or this massive encompassing sentiment style?
Well, we know like basically like I think we've seen it on Mixtral model it basic, and I would believe like because OpenAI and like Anthropic is basically closed, so we don't exactly know what they are doing, but the lead in like generating the best outputs for users is some mixture of like smaller expert models in like some fields. We've seen in Mixtral, it makes great sense to have like smaller expert models and one router between these models and RAG databases, which basically is it has nothing like to do with Clore, but I personally run experiment for one company where we trained some model that was it was like some competition basically, and we were needed like get as close as possible to Wikipedia answers at some point. So we just basically put search in Wikipedia the fastest. And we achieved the lowest loss basically by having a second RAG database, which was queried by the model and itself it pulled the data from it. So I think it's some mixture of expert models and models being able to navigate databases and like pull the data. on itself too. Because like training is lossy, we know it, and when you're fitting like lot of petabytes of data into some model, yes, it's the best to fit as much data in a model as possible without overtraining it. But at some point, the models that are able to navigate some databases and effectively pull out contexts from it makes the most sense for now. I'm not sure what future will bring, but I see it this way personally.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah. So you talked about supply and demand, right?
Yes.
When I look at the history of AI, which is a hot topic right now and seems to be recyclable every 20 years, right? You said the demand has no sense of slowing down, but it did slow down in the past. It ebbs and flows over time. But and the AI narrative over in the 1960s, 1980s, and 2000 never stuck, right? Why is this current cycle the one that will stick? And what would it take to break the demand or increase the supply so you don't have wild action happening in the economic, in the economic models?
Yes. Well, previously we just haven't got like this basically good AI models because we were basically limited by the computing power itself. We like know linear algebra as a humanity for a long time, but right now is like, I would say, the somewhat first time in history we somewhat like achieved like this quality of models just because we have like the computing power. We did, and like as we have the computing power that like really it starts making sense. Okay, this might be possible to build because like in like year 2000 it was like just like nearly like impossible. It would like cost just insane amount of money, and you couldn't see like any probability on building any relatively cheap to operate model for anything. So it didn't make sense. And in like 2016 or something, when like it was like probably the first like baby steps of like creating some large language models, which was the hottest topic from the start probably. Then you like had like transformers, and you go on and you start building this architecture, making it like more efficient, and you're getting more and more data. It's getting better and better because it finally was at some point that cheap that it could be like somewhat pulled off, and then it got more efficient. And then when you have like models at such scale, then the demand for them basically went up because you finally have some product that is in demand. I think like the demand may not be like from now, like just by like the everyday people direct like prompting GPT or something, but it's like some like large backend systems that are like verifying something, okay, checking some data, like processing some data, like I don't know, if you want to make some, even in like trading, if you want to like have some, let's say, analyze the market, let's just look at like a lot of things. You just put up some OpenAI, Anthropic AI, or some other AI startup API into your Jupyter notebooks. Okay, I'm somewhat like addicted on Python, like I want to overanalyze everything somewhat, but like it makes most sense. It just saves time. And like right now, I think like, it saves time from the demand. I think like where like just makes economically sense, where we have demand for something that replaces, I don't know, human workers for like cheaper, it like is no-brainer, and more businesses are basically going to adopt it. And it's getting better and better. And on the supply side, I personally don't think there will be like some squeeze that will make some insane thing that will make models like 1,000 times or even like 100 times cheaper. They are relatively like cheap now, but I don't see like any like insane shock to the market from the supply side coming that will like somewhat kill the profitability of AI model developers in the future. Right? Like even our technology as GPUs, we just we're hitting some limits of the silicon itself, where we'll not like do 100x scaling. Moore's law basically doesn't apply anymore, in my opinion.
Got it. You said a magic word there. That's been consistent in everyone I've talked to, and over time. You said Python.
Yeah.
Very old language. You
Yeah.
know. Is there what are the chances that Python can be replaced and improved upon? I haven't heard it yet. So what would be able to do that? And if not, aren't we still constrained by that old language and make it better?
Well, I don't think it's necessarily the constraint. It like depends what you need to build. Of course, if you're building somewhat highly efficient applications, you'll go and build it in C, basically. Like recently, like we see like people are talking about like Rust replacing Python, but Python is basically so simplistic, and I think that this is like somewhat the thing, like driving it in this AI revolution. Something that we have like PyTorch, TensorFlow, and you basically import these libraries into Python. They are extremely like efficient, using like somewhat like C backends. So, but then like the final like adjustments to this you make in Python, and it's just like, in my opinion, still like most like programmer friendly, even in like this AI ecosystems. I like, of course, it can be replaced, but it's still, in my opinion, will be hanging in like around the number one spot, basically. Not necessarily like number one, but it'll be hanging in the top. And I personally don't find anything like wrong with Python being one of the top languages, basically.
Got it. Okay, good to know. All right, so awesome. So I want to thank you very much for speaking with me today. I enjoyed learning about your company, and I have yeah. So thank you. So I have one last question. Is actually yeah. I have two. Actually, I have one more question. Is how can people find out more information about you, about Clore? How can they start to use your product service? How can they do that?
Well, okay, about me, I personally don't think I'm the like necessarily important person. People just should look at the product itself. The product is based mostly representing what we do, basically, and like it's like one of the like first thing that I basically like do publicly. That isn't me just like trading some stuff, basically like making some analysis on something, right? And yeah, about Clore, they can like visit the Clore website, and like docs.clore.AI. It's also like, yeah, linked on the website. People can visit these two pages. They can read a lot of about Clore, but like, itself, if you're a crypto miner, a GPU crypto miner, you can yield from Clore. You can put your machines to Clore. Yeah, regarding like AI developers, people needing to run AI, yeah, it's you when Clore.AI marketplace, in my opinion, is, and in opinion of our clients, it's so simple to use that if you're running some AI, you'll know what to do when you see it.
Got it. Awesome. Thank you very much for your time today.
Yeah, I thank you also. It was a nice interview, basically. Yeah.